Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I hope this is a very informational event for you guys. We have a panel of wonderful and successful agents with us who are going to talk about their perspectives on what they do to generate listings. Each one has a different topic, and what I'm going to do first is let you know get the general questions out of the way. The restrooms are to the right if you need to go, and then the food as you entered over there. So you can, if you get hungry in the middle of this meeting, you can feel free to get some food, and of course it'll be there afterwards. But let's start passing out the mic, and Eric, I'll let everybody introduce themselves.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Eric Brown, a.k.a. the Dapper Realtor. Let's see. I've been selling real estate for 6 years. Been here, I think 3, maybe-ish. Yeah. Yeah, I don't... What else you like doing for an introduction?
Well, he's actually does his... most of his business comes from networking, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's the perspective that he's going to be talking about today. So we can pass it on.
All righty.
Hello, my name is Virginia Stewart, aka Virginia like the state. And I say that because people don't remember and they say Veronica, Victoria. It's Virginia. So I am a native, born and raised here and in this area. And my primary sales come from Facebook, social media. So that's where pretty much most of my business comes from, is referrals and social media. And I make people not forget me. So I make sure I'm unforgettable through social media like that. So, and it's free advertising. I don't have to pay for ads. I don't sit in open houses, and I don't pass out postcards and all that. And I get too much business that I had to hire a team to help me because I get a lot of business and I'm only one person.
And it's mostly for your sphere, right, that you're doing?
Yeah, my sphere of my social media.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Edward Aminov, aka the Valley Agent, and most of my business comes from lead gen and expires and canceled.
My name is David Alive. I don't have a nickname, but I just go by David Alive. That's the branding. But most of my business is pretty much cold calling, cancel expires, for sale by owners. That's, like I said, majority of my business, and I've been in real estate for about 2.5 years, so still fairly new, but hopefully you guys can learn a lot today.
And he goes without introduction. Our CEO, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know how many people know me here. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's some new faces. So my name is Alan Kushmakov. I'm a founder and CEO of Best Homes Real Estate. Been in real estate for 10 years. Got licensed 2013. Probably in the last 10 years went on 700 plus listing appointments. I don't know, listed like 300 plus homes. Definitely would love to share what I have learned and how we work the listings, and how we help our agents to list houses as well. So it's going to be a very interactive session. We're going to share a lot with you guys, and hopefully you guys are going to, write a lot, and then most importantly, implement.
And Alan, he pretty much gets listings, in every realm. So what he's going to be covering today is actually geofarming. So a lot of the questions for him will be pertaining to that. So let's start with you, Alan. What would you say in regards to geofarming are some effective strategies for identifying potential listing clients?
Well, I think first and foremost, you gotta figure out what area you want to farm, right? So there are some areas that are initially looked at, and there were great areas, but I just did not really enjoy doing open houses there. Like, how many of you guys sold houses in the neighborhoods where you're like, man, this neighborhood is a dump. I don't really want to farm that area, right? So I really wanted to focus on the area where I actually enjoy holding open houses, where I also was able to see the values that were going up, and also the price points were a little bit higher than the average price point here in the valley. So the area that I really focused on was Arrowhead Lakes. Who's here familiar with Arrowhead Lakes? Okay, so when I started farming in 2015, the average price point there was around $500,000. And right now it's like close to like $800,000. So for me, like if I'm going to be farming that area at that time at $500,000, my commission check on average was about 15K. If I farm an area that is at $300,000, that commission check is about $9,000. So I'm doing exactly the same thing, the same number of postcards, the same number of flyers, holding open houses, but my commission check is about 30 to 40% less. So for me, the first thing, obviously, enjoying the area. Second thing are the price points. And the third thing is going to be the turnover rate, like how many sold homes are in that neighborhood on a yearly basis. So the great way of looking at it is look at the number of transactions that happen in that particular neighborhood, right? And then seeing how many homes there are actually in that neighborhood. So if let's say there are 1,000 homes like in Arrowhead Lakes, typically they're about 6 to 7% turnover rate. So there are about 50 to 60 transactions a year. That's a normal market, right? So that means if I get a 10% market share there, that's about 5 to 6 transactions from me. Okay. So those are the three things that I'll look at.
Awesome. Well, we'll move it to David. Now, David, in regards to FSBOs, the same question. What are some effective strategies for identifying for potential listing clients in regards to FSBOs? Because I also know you also do expireds, right? So if you can give us some insight on that.
Yeah, so just I mean, in terms of both, I mean, with for sale by owners, I mean, they already have their home on the market, whether it's Zillow by themselves, so they're actively looking to sell, right? I mean, the biggest thing is, seeing at the end of the day, most for sale by owners are going to work with an agent. You just want to schedule that appointment with them, and sometimes it's not about, oh, maybe I'll get that appointment today, but it's about that follow up with them, because they might not list today or have you come in today for that appointment because they're getting bombarded by 20, 30, 40 realtors that day. But it's about the follow up. Like, hey, I know you're not going to list today, but, in a week, if you don't get the traction or the showings that you want or any offers, you mind if I swing by? And that's when you give your presentation and you pretty much secure it during the presentation. Now, in regards to cancel expires, the biggest thing in terms of, when you're on the phone, like I tell everyone, it's a numbers game. So the more dials you make, the more opportunity you have. But in terms of that, just being straightforward. I mean, same thing with for sale by owners. I mean, they're getting 10, 20, 30 calls that day. So, I neglect all the how are yous, the extended, introduction of my name. It's really just, sorry, home came off the market. Are you still trying to sell? And then from there, you literally get two answers, a yes and a no. And you get a lot of no's. But when you get a yes, that's a perfect person that you're going to schedule that appointment with the next day and then have that opportunity at the presentation to get the listing. And, like I said, I think the biggest thing is just being consistent with it, having it be a numbers game, and then also just be straightforward over the phone. And, a little more into detail later.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, Eddie, I know you also do expires, but you do social media. So maybe if you can tell me how you approach that to get potential listing clients.
Through social media, I run a ad campaign on Facebook. So once they sign up, they want to know what their value of their home is. So I call them. I'm like, hi, I just got your inquiry online. I saw you wanted some information about your home. I'm like, can you give me some details about your home? So they give me the details. I kind of give them an evaluation. I'm like, if I may ask, just out of curiosity, do you have a time frame on when you're looking to potentially sell? They're like, well, I want to sell in the next month. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Are you available if I swing by your home later today or sometime this week? So we can further talk about what we can get for your home.
Awesome. And then for the expireds, do you approach it pretty much the same as David?
Yes, but when they say no to me, I'm like, just out of curiosity, if I may ask, what was the initial reason you put your house on the market?
That's awesome.
Typical answers you'll get, they either want to upsize, downsize. Well, they possibly don't like Arizona. They want to move out of the state. So they have a motivation there because they either need to upsize, downsize, or move out of the state. So then after that, my question is, if we get you the price you want, would you consider selling within the next 30 to 60 days? They're like, yes.
Awesome. So you just remind them again of why they wanted to sell.
Yes.
Right? To refreshen their mind about it. That's awesome. Good pushback. Great. Now we go. Same question to you, Virginia. I know you work with your sphere. So what are your strategies for identifying sellers within that sphere?
So when I first started, I had the mentality of what do people like as humans. So we as people, we like to watch television shows, whether it's The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, the Kardashians. They like The Rock. People are into Yellowstone. Yeah, I like The Rock. Okay, people like The Rock. The Kardashians, anytime Yellowstone. People are into shows. People are into entertainment. So for me, I wanted to kind of half entertain, but half be in front of people all the time. So I make sure I post every single day, and I post things that people are into or catch their attention, whether it's cute puppies or muscle cars or delicious food or things that are that make your eyes and mind happy. So and then I entertain just by always staying in front of people, so I'm like, oh, hey, look at what's going on with the Paradise Valley Mall now, because if you've been in Arizona for a while, you know kind of what's going on with Paradise Valley Mall, how it got demolished and it's being built up. But I keep people updated on things like that. So my idea is to be in people's brains and be unforgettable. So I post every single day on Facebook, because not everyone goes on Facebook all the time. They might only go on Facebook once a week or once a month, but when they do go on Facebook, I'm going to be there. So that way, I try to post at least every day or sometimes every other day, depending on what I can do. So I try to be memorable, try to be unforgettable. And what I do to be unforgettable as well, I make a lot of videos that are content that help others and that are informative. So some of my videos could be like, what do buyers need to know when buying a home? What are the hidden costs of when buying a home? Things like that. So I do videos about what you might need to know when buying a home, like I said. So I try to make informative videos, informative content, something that's going to help others. And then I make them, I call them evergreen. Like I just posted one. It's a patriotic one because we're always into politics and stuff. So I made a patriotic one, but it's good to make videos that you can repost like every 3 months, or you can repost every 6 months, and it's still good. So like the ones that I posted are like, why you need a home inspection. You can repost that, every 2 months. So it's like, if I'm going to go through the effort of putting on makeup and doing my hair and going to a house and getting an inspector to do a video with me, I'm going to make it evergreen so I can repost it, every couple months, and then just refreshing it. And the trick is to post it organically. So you're not going to share it and you're not going to resurface it, but you're going to upload it again freshly. And then my Facebook friends, I consider them my audience. That's your window of your audience. So you're staying in front of them. And they're like, okay, well, what is she going to do next? So it's good. It's kind of like a mini TV series kind of thing. You just make it fun.
Nice. All righty, Eric, same question for you. How do I identify potential listing clients while you're networking?
So real quick before I even get into this, guys, so as you can see, all of us have a different strategy this is what we do. So especially if you're new, you're still trying to figure things out, don't think you have to do every single thing that we're doing, like all of us are doing, because I always say in this industry, there's a million ways to make $1 million. Figure out what works out for you, what's authentically you, because that's what the potential clientele is going to see. They want to see authentically you, right? So kind of tailor it in to see what works for you and then go after it. All right. With that being said, I do a lot of like when I say networking, I pretty much live my life, guys. I believe in relationships. So I'm not even gonna call it networking. I'm gonna call it relationship building. Okay. I turn a stranger into a friend and a friend into family. Right. So, for example, I golf every Wednesday. I golf. I like to golf. Eric, why do you golf on a Wednesday? Right. Most people that are golfing in the middle of the week they have money. Okay. So I'm putting myself in positions to meet people that have money. Most people that have money have rental portfolios. They know people that are moving in and out. Right. So I literally put myself into positions to meet people that are people that I would love to meet, to have relationships with, not necessarily just sell their house, but to start a relationship. Perfect example. Met a guy about 2 years ago, randomly played some golf. Right. And right now so he lives up in Oregon, and Oregon passed a law that is not very landlord friendly. So he has 5 rental properties up there. And of course, all of his friends that own rental properties up there, they're going to be transitioning their entire rental portfolio down here. Guess who his go-to guy is? This guy right here. Why? Because I met him. You know, I believe in you have to be known, liked, and trusted, right? So being in front of people, they're going to get to know me. Hey, we're playing golf. You're stuck with me in a cart for 4 hours, right? So 9 times out of 10, 2 things are going to happen. You're going to hate me or you're going to fall in love with me, okay? Nobody, I don't think anybody knows me, but like, oh, this guy, Eric, he's okay. It's either I can't stand this asshole or, yeah, I love him, right? So it's one of the two. There's not no in between. But after 4 hours of golf, you know, I'm like, hey, instead of saying, hey, I sell real estate, you know, usually I'm like, hey, you know, what do you do for a living? The majority of them are actually retired. So they're going to ask me, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I sell real estate. Oh, wow. Okay. And then they start asking me about how's the market? That's the number one question. How's the market? That depends on what you're looking for, right? So I get into details about how the market is. Then we keep going. Then all of a sudden, trust me, if you guys are golfers and you play with people and they know that you sell real estate, you know the next question is you get to a house. Oh, that thing's beautiful. How much do you think that house is worth? Because you did your, you know, if you're like me, before I go to a golf course, I kind of look at what's available on the golf course because what I'm 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna get that question, right? So I answer the question, right? And then after the round's done, hey, I came here as a solo. Here's my card. If you need somebody to play golf with again, give me a holler. I'm not even saying, hey, look, I want to sell you some real estate. I'm like, hey, if you need a third or fourth person to play golf with, I'm your guy. Then they hit me up. Let's play some golf. I created the relationship. Then when they're ready, their people are ready, guess what happens? They come to me. And so that's kind of how I build, so I build my relationships, my contacts, my client list through the way that I live and just, again, creating relationships through me just living my life.
Awesome. Well, you guys actually did some really good follow-up questions, which is how you target, how you attract those, right? Now, I know that's a little bit different for people who call out, like the FISBOs, the expireds, and the geofarming. So maybe we can pass the mic over and you can tell me how you identify. Well, you talked a little bit, Alan, about how you identify your farm based on, right? Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Absolutely. By the way, who's here actually farming right now, doing geofarming? Who's doing that? Eric is doing it. You're doing it. All right. What are you doing as far as geofarming? Yeah. Cool. So you're digital farming, like with HomeBot?
He does the digital farming.
Yeah.
We do like farm neighborhoods.
Farm neighborhoods as well?
Yeah, like we send out one garden one.
Okay. All right. Who had success with farming? All right. Who like tried farming and it just didn't really go anywhere? Come on, guys, be honest. Who tried farming? So farming is not for everyone,
Alan,
right?
Quick
Yeah.
question for you. Would you consider running open houses, doing everything just within one specific area over and over and over again? Would you consider that farming?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's actually like, if you think about it, that's a piece of the puzzle, right? So farming, a lot of times people think like it's just sending a bunch of like flyers, and it's just one side of the puzzle. Like when I started farming, first of all, I did not start farming until my 4th year in business. My first 3 years, I was doing exactly what these two guys are doing, which is like expireds, cancels for sell by owners. That's how I was able to build my business. Like my 3rd year in business, I closed on 75 deals. Majority of those deals came from expireds and cancels. My 4th year that's when I started doing farming. And the first 5 or 6 months, I was not getting any type of results at all. I was spending money every single month. I was sending postcards every single week. I would send postcards. I would do open houses. I was not getting any leads at all. After about a couple of months, I was like, you know what, this is not working at all. But I continued doing it because I believed in it. I also hired a coach. So month number 6, I got the first phone call, and it was a seller, and she was like, you know what, I've been getting your stuff. interested in selling my home. Can you come and take a look at it? Oh, by the way, what is your commission? I was like, well, you know what? We have a different commission, structures and everything like that. I can definitely tell you what exactly we can charge while seeing your house. Absolutely. So I go in, and she has a stack of all of my postcards for the last 6 months, like sitting on her kitchen table, a stack, right? And she's like, yeah, I've been getting your stuff, and we're interested in downsizing. We're moving to Colorado, and we had the conversation, and I listed a house for like $550,000. But that took like 6 months to develop, right? And that's sending postcards every single week, and then trying to do open houses as well. So with farming, I suggest for someone who's actually already has some business coming in, and you guys can invest for the next 6 months. You have to have a budget. If you don't have a budget, most likely after about a month or two, you guys are gonna just not gonna see the results fast enough, and you're gonna have to give up because financially you're not gonna be able to sustain it, right? So make sure you have some money coming in first before you actually do farming, right? The second thing is, do not just rely on postcards. Like I see agents are like, you know what? I send postcard after postcard after postcard, and I'm not really getting anywhere with that. Well, it's got to be a combination of postcards. It's got to be the open houses, like Eric said. I remember when I used to get a listing, I would make sure that I hold at least 2 to 3 open houses a week. That was actually one of my conditions working with the seller. I was like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm holding 2 to 3 open houses every single week. And when I'm holding those open houses, I'm knocking on doors. I'm letting neighbors know that I'm holding an open house, and I'm also introducing myself and handing out my information, right? So community outreach is another thing. So open houses, right? That's another thing with open houses, guys, as you know, is you're going to put out a bunch of signs. Well, they're constantly seeing your signs. They're seeing your name, right? That's just another way of generating the lead gen, right? So it's geofarming with postcards, open houses, door knocking, and then also digital marketing. You got to be able to digitally, whether it's on Facebook, on Instagram, also talk to the audience of that particular farm or that particular, for example, zip code or the city. So those are the 4 areas I would focus on when it comes to the farming.
Awesome. Awesome. And just on the postcards, just a little side note on the postcard, there was a study done, this marketing study where this group of people went to a neighborhood and asked everybody who was the most successful realtor in their neighborhood. Every homeowner put a different name. Then what they did is they made a fictitious realtor, and they sent out postcards regularly to that neighborhood. Year later of sending consistently postcards, they went and asked, who is the most successful realtor? The number 1 name that came up was the fictitious realtor that they send out. So it's about consistency. That's how they remembered. So they saw that realtor as successful. That realtor didn't exist. But it shows the power of consistency and people just seeing.
Yeah, farming is all about the consistency, right? And again, you're almost going to have this love-hate relationship with farming, because there are going to be weeks and weeks and weeks that you're not getting any type of calls or emails or any of that stuff, right? But you're also going to have weeks where they're actually calling you and they're like, hey, I've been getting your stuff for months. Can you come and list my house? And those are the most beautiful words you're going to hear, is the fact that I've been getting your stuff. Can you come list my house? That's it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So consistency is definitely the key.
Absolutely.
Can I add something onto the geofarm stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is just, guys, so for me, farming, I think, there we go, thank you. I literally just started, maybe 2 months ago? Yeah. Because I moved into the neighborhood that is going to be my forever neighborhood. I live in Verrado. And that's one thing was, like, let me go ahead and, I golf in Verrado all the time. I go to all the restaurants. I'm at the gym. I'm at the pool. My son goes to the elementary school. I was like, shit, this is a good price point. I could go from 400,000 all the way up to 3.5 million, right? So, I mean, why would I want to farm anywhere else, right? So, on top of sending out my monthly postcards, I rebranded all my open house signs, made sure my face was on them, not just my name. I made sure my face was on them. And all of my open houses, even if they're not mine, it's somebody else's listing in the area. So if I'm going to go and so whenever I do have a new listing, I'm always going to do open house. Me and my team, we do open house, open and weekend, and then my team takes over from there. And then I branch off and I stay in Verrado. That's going to be my area. Also, on top of that, get active in the community. And when I say active, I mean you don't have to be the guy sponsoring shit. Hey, just go over there, eat at the local restaurant, grab the local coffee. Every morning I take my son to school, I drive my golf cart over to the local coffee spot and I order my bagel and coffee sandwich. They get to know who I am. I know everybody by first name. Matter of fact, the guy this morning, I was grabbing my coffee. He was like, "Hey, your son goes to school at Verrado Elementary. You're always dressed nice. What do you do for a living?" I said, "Real estate." "Oh shit, that's awesome. Yeah, it was great meeting you." Stuff, things like that. Again, being known in the community, that I believe that is a part of geo farming, not just let me go ahead and send out postcards. Be a part of your community, and again, not even saying that you need to sponsor the park movie night. Just be there, get active, be involved in whatever community you feel like you're going to be farming in, because people need to see your face.
Just show up, basically.
I'm just gonna follow along with that because I do the same thing, but I do it on social media. So what I do is when I go to my mechanic, I talk to the owner, and of course, if they did a good job, I was like, "Hey, you did a really, really good job." I do free advertisements for my vendors. They say, "Can I do a video for you?" So they're like, "Yeah, sure, of course. It's free advertisement." So I'll be there, whether it's a mechanic, hair salon, any vendor I go to, restaurant, anything like that, someplace in the community, and we will do a quick 1-minute video. And I'm like, "Hey there," and I'll just talk to my audience, which are, "Hey friends from Facebook. I'm here at Dave's Mechanic here, and Dave did this and this and this for me. They did a wonderful job, and they're great affordable prices. And I was quoted somewhere else at this price, and now they're doing this at a lower price, and they did a fabulous job. So Dave, tell them your phone number and where you're located, and I'll hand the microphone to him or whatever." So I do a lot of community reach outs as well too, but mine are video related, and that way I also, when I post that video on Facebook, I tag Dave, the owner, and then I'll tag maybe 1 or 2 more staff members. So when you tag someone on Facebook, all of their friends and family get to see me as their client, but it also says Virginia Stewart Realtor. So I'm not really advertising myself. I'm advertising myself subliminally, but I'm saying what a great job this mechanic did. So the trick is tagging the owner, who's also has a lot of Facebook friends, and then that owner will also, their friends will actually see me as a realtor too. So I do the community as well, restaurants and mechanics.
Absolutely. Eddie,
Whichever way.
Eddie, I know you guys share one of the topics, which is expired. So I'll have Eddie have you cover expired. So how do you identify your expireds? Like how do you get the information to be able to call them and target them?
Well, at first, when I didn't have much of a budget when I first started, I called the title company. I'm like, "You guys send me the list every day." So they started sending me the list every day, and I started calling the list every day. It took me about 6 months to get my first listing by calling every day and following up with those people. I had a good conversation. But recently, I bought a lead source called My Plus Leads, and they also have expired sources on there with phone numbers, addresses, and everything on there.
So Best Homes Title is in house, by the way.
And
David,
so,
Still
that's
gotta
one.
make the phone calls, guys. You still gotta make
Yes.
the phone calls.
yes,
And
you can't just get the information and not call.
Just to add on to what Eddie said, literally it's free. Like besides, the farming, which is obviously always great for the future business, cold calling, we get the information from the title company and it is literally just free. And that was the benefit of, when we started, not much money to work with, we asked the title company for it and they provided all the information, and it's just up to you guys, and us to make the calls. And the reality of it is, there's 40,000 realtors in Arizona licensed, and how much more? 90? Okay, I have the wrong.
There's 60 in Phoenix.
Okay, so wrong information. There's a lot more. It's 90,000 in Arizona, and the reality of it is 20 to 30 on the high end are calling one person. So you're not really working, against that many people in the grand scheme of things. But again, that's the biggest thing with cancel expires, just cold calling in general, is just staying consistent, right? I mean, Eddie said, it took him 6 months to get his first listing, and it's tough to be dedicated for 6 months with nothing going on. But just knowing that you're getting better and fine tuning your script, the script in the beginning, you might get a lot of FUs, or I've gone to where the old agent, the previous agent told me the same thing, use the same script, and they hang up the phone. So, you fine tune your script, you get one that works for you, because every agent's going to have a different script. You find out that one that works for you, and you just stick with it, and you be consistent with it.
Mhm.
And then when you do get your first listing and your second and your third, then you just break it down to a science, where every 50 calls I make, I can schedule 1 or 2 appointments. Every, maybe 10 appointments I go on, I can get, I've had good ratios where I get, 50, 60% of my appointments listed. So it breaks down to a science, how many calls do I want to make today? Do I want to spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes even 4 hours calling? So, once you can break it down to that, then it's like I have a way I can just get business. It's not farming, it's not, the social media aspect, but, it's just calling, which is tough for a lot of people. A lot of people are not going to do it. We can give all the secrets away or how we do it, but most likely maybe 3 of you guys are going to start calling after
Probably less
this.
than that, bro.
Probably less than
Yeah.
that.
Why don't we ask? I mean, who's going to be your actual
Who-
calling expert
I mean,
against us?
So,
I've been calling them.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's been really easy to get the connection piece and talking to them.
That's great.
great.
I think a couple of problems I'm having is like how, the ones that are expired or canceled because they're overpriced,
Yeah.
Sure.
their agent has obviously tried to pull teeth to get them to be reasonable at the price of their home. Do you kind of just take the listing anyways to get the exposure
So,
from it?
twofold, because I'll be honest with you, sometimes the agent doesn't do a good job. I worked with someone, I met with someone, been following up with him, and they were probably, it was a $490,000 listing, but the real value of the home is about $430,000, right? So there's a huge difference, and they were on the market for 300 days. The reality of that is that listing agent is awful, right? They're just there to take the listing, right? So you have that talk with them, you have that honest talk of, look, you get the motivation, and you like press on the motivation essentially. Look, if you want to move to this state, if you want to leave for your son to go to a school in a different state, you got to lower the price of your home. It's not going to sell. You're going to be stuck here. And with that, usually they will open up, and especially when you put the numbers in front of them. When you show them the same home or a similar home that sold for $60,000 less, and you tell them, what makes you think someone's going to even come to your home to even see it? You might as well not list it. I told them straight up, if that's what you want to do, a lot of times I tell them I won't take your listing, because I'm not here to just collect listings. If I collect listings, I can have a ton of them. I'm here to sell your home. And that honest truth conversation, even if they don't list with you in that moment or sign that contract, they will be in contact with you for when they do want to sell in 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I've had it as long as I met with someone last October. They didn't sign me back then, and it was something that was my mistake. I fought them hard on the commission, and they didn't want to accept my commission, so I didn't take the listing, which is something I learned not to do. But literally a year later, they called me and they said, "Hey, we still want to list the home, and we're listing it now." And that was a year of no communication, but she remembered me from the presentation I had. So it's just being a memorable face, and your presentation, like I said, being just memorable.
Yeah, just to kind of answer that. Yeah, go ahead.
Like we're so curious about, to get them on the phone, how do you make the transition? What are some things that you said that can actually give you
Yeah.
help?
So, I mean, first off, like being straightforward over the phone, if they are trying to sell their home, you get 2 answers. You get a yes or a no. If it's a yes, you're in the home the next day, right?
Yeah.
Or at least you're into the home, you're within the week, or she's interviewing agents, but you're getting in regardless because they're actively trying to sell their home.
Well, David, can I interrupt real quick? Because
Yes.
that's actually the next question that I'm going to ask
Okay.
is what points or topics, what do you prioritize? Once you've gotten the yes, I'm interested,
Sure.
how do you initiate, what's your initial conversation look like?
So over the phone at
Like
least.
once you've made
Yeah.
the appointment and
Okay.
yeah.
Well, once I
Mhm.
made the appointment, now I'm in person, right?
Mhm.
Typically, once I make the appointment, I'm in person, and I do have a whole presentation that I run them through, and it's just honest marketing, right? And it's the point is when you say, "Hey, I'm gonna do A, B, and C," and I tell them, A to Z. I tell them I'm gonna do the open houses, I'm gonna do the email marketing, I'm gonna do the flyers. I bring material with me, which every seller loves seeing, right? I do the reverse prospecting. I tell them, and I door knock. So when you tell them that you do everything, it really becomes hard to say no to you. It really becomes hard because most of the time, because the cancel expired, the previous agent didn't do any of that. And that's where you can have that leverage of, hey, this is why I will work for you, because and I'll get it sold for you because I'll do everything to get it sold. And even for some reason, if it doesn't sell, that I did everything, right? Because sometimes it doesn't sell, right? Sometimes you becomes your cancel expired listing. But at that point, you did everything you could. But more times than not, it will sell. More times than not, it will sell. I've only, out of at least 20 cancel expired listings, I've only had one not sell. And they canceled me within 20 days. So they didn't really give me a real opportunity, we could say. But other than that, I mean, one, they all sell. And two, once you tell them, look, I do everything for you, and you do a deep dive on the pictures, right? I mean, I tell them the pictures are the most important things. It's going to sell your home, right? Everything is sold online now, right? People are going to see the home, the pictures, how beautiful they look. They're going to want to see the home. And I show them awful pictures. I'm like, the home looks like this, shown like this. No one's even going to want to see it, no matter the price point, nothing. So it's just the different things that you're able to kind of tell them that will, position their home in a ability to sell. That becomes hard to say no to you. And of course, you bring up your numbers, maybe what you've sold, and even if you're new, use your brokerage numbers. You're all a big team at the end of the day. Use the numbers that they've sold in the community or in general, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we are all a big team. So yeah, maybe you didn't sell 100 homes, but your brokerage did. You guys are all one big team and one big community that you can just utilize each other as leverage. So
I want to add something real quick too, because what he's talking about is huge. Because he's talking about value add, right? What kind of value are you giving to the seller, right? One little small thing that I think that I do really well with my sellers, even if I do take an overpriced listing, which I've done that many times, right? But one, so I've taken overpriced listings before, but one thing that I do that a lot of agents don't do are weekly follow-ups. So if you add that into your presentation, this is what I do. I'm going to contact you on this date every single week, regardless throughout the entire process, even if it's under contract. This is my thing, right? I guarantee you nobody else is doing the exact same thing, because what do most listing agents do? They take the listing, they set it and forget about it, right? Okay. And they just let it just sit there. And 9 times out of 10, the seller's contacting you and saying, hey, what's going on? What happened over the weekend with the showings? What happened with the open house? Do we get what kind of activity have we gotten? So every Tuesday, all of my sellers know that EJ is going to go and contact me via email, text message, or phone call, or a FaceTime or a video message. He is going to give me the update on everything that happened last week, good, bad, or indifferent. Okay, so that's one way of adding some value that I guarantee you, majority of agents do not have that type of follow-up sequence for their sellers.
And let's pass it to.
Just to add to what you asked, right, about pricing, right? So I took listings where I knew there was a good chance they would not sell, but I took listings because of the leverage. You see, the more listings you have, the better it is. It's almost kind of having like storefronts in every part of the county, right, or the valley. So one of the things that I would ask them is the motivation. Like if there's actually a real motivation, I would take the listing at the higher price point with setting expectations that after 30 days, after we get the feedback that it's not showing well, or maybe the price is a little bit too high, we're holding a bunch of open houses, we have to lower the price, we have to adjust the price, right? Set those expectations ahead of time so they don't come back and blame you and say, well, you agreed to list it for $490 and we've been on the market for 3 months and nothing's happening, right? The second thing that I would do is I would actually hold open houses. If I think that listing is actually in good condition, I would hold as many open houses as possible. Again, if I can't sell it, at least I'll hold the open houses and generate some leads out of it, right? And then the third thing is obviously utilizing the neighborhood and knocking on doors, introducing myself to the neighbors. So sometimes it's okay to take the overpriced listing with other alternatives or other options that are available to you.
Mhm, mhm.
Touch on something that Eric said in terms of the communication. That was actually a very key point, because most sellers, when you're at the table with them in your presentation, one big thing their listing agent not do is communicate. That's probably one of the biggest things. And the way I explain it to them is, look, I mean, like you said, I'm in touch with you every week. I bring you the feedback, and at the end of the day, the way I know that no agent is really contacting any the sellers is because I'll, as a buyer's agent, go out and show 10 homes, and there'll be one listing agent that gets back to me and is like, "Hey, how was the home? Are your clients interested? Any feedback?" There'll be one agent, and that will be me. I tell them that will be me. That is the value proposition. Is as sad as it is, as easy it is to communicate, no one does it. And that's the value you bring. So like I said, when you bring all those value points, it really becomes hard to say no to you, even if you're competing with other people. So
Mhm. And it sounds like the consensus amongst everybody here in the panel is basically that's how you build trust, right? They're seeing you, you're being forthright, honest with them about the reality of whether their home can sell or not for that price. And that's really the key to getting a client is once you're in the door, the trust and credibility that you have with them. And that's how they're, I mean, that's what I'm hearing from each one of you is you all vocalize the same thing in a different way. So that's awesome. So once you've earned their trust, now they let you in. Obviously, sometimes the trust is all they need and they're go, but sometimes they have some pushback, hesitation. What are some of the pushbacks that you get and how do you address those? Let's start with Alan, since the mic is closest to you.
So when I was working expired and canceled, right, the pushback right off the bat was the fact that you're just like another agent. Like, how are you going to be different,
Mhm.
right? So for me, it's all about humanizing the entire situation, really showing a lot of empathy, um, really trying to understand where they're coming from, asking them questions. What did they like about their previous agent, what they didn't like about their previous agent, what are expectations of the agent that they want to be working with going forward. Again, just reiterating on the things that that is important to them, their motivation, why they want to sell the house, right? And ultimately, like, you want to build a connection, you want to build a rapport with them.
Mhm.
I'm not there initially to kind of sell them on anything or pitch them on anything. It's all about just building a relationship with them, right?
Mhm.
And we do this while we're touring the house, right? If I see something that is in common with me or my family, I will mention that. I'll share that as well. But the first 15, 20 minutes, it's all about them. It's all about me asking them questions and learning as much as possible about them, their tendencies, and who's actually the talker, who's the one who's actually a decision maker. Because when you're talking to a husband and wife, there's one person that is alpha. And a lot of times it's not a man, it's a woman, right? So so you got to really understand that. You also want to kind of check and see what kind of personality type they are. Like, there are different personalities. Like, I'm a high D and high I, but there are also individuals that are high C's. They're very analytical, very, like, before they make a decision, they got to like pray and do all that kind of stuff, right? So you got to be kind of really adaptable to each personality trait, right?
Yeah.
But it's all about building the value, building a relationship, and then based on what they tell you, now you're crafting your message, your
Mhm.
value proposition, and your offer based
Mhm.
on what they're telling you that is important to them,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So that's my approach.
Great. Well, David, I want to ask your approach in regards to FISBOs because I'm sure the pushbacks are a little bit different
yeah,
when it comes to FISBOs.
yeah. So I mean, with FISBOs, the pushback over the phone again is a lot of people calling me. Why are you different? But at the same time, my initial honestly talk with the FISBO, my initial call isn't let me schedule that appointment right now with you. It's more so humanizing it. Like Alan said, I understand you're getting a lot of calls. Be quick, not trying to bombard you like everyone else. And then it is just kind of getting into, I know you're going to try to sell by yourself, but if you don't get the traction you want, you know, when do you think you might potentially use other options, utilize other options. And not like a lot of times they will give you a time frame. They will give you 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Sometimes you'll get an FU. I'm not ever looking to list, hang up the phone. And those people you don't even like, there's a lot of fish out there. Those people you just set aside, next call. And so those people who do give you a time frame of a couple weeks, few weeks, now you follow up with them, right? Now you follow up with them, it could be weekly, it can be sooner depending on, their time frame. But, adding them the value through the emails. Hey, this is what's popped up on your home. How's the feedback you've been getting? Do you even have any showings? And just, slowly adding value to list and to get the listing appointment. And then at the listing appointment, it really is, the same for cancel and expires as it is for sale by owners. It's the value proposition you bring. It's, like Alan said, humanizing the situation, telling them, why you're fit for the job to get it done. So when you're there in person, there's not many differences. Yeah, the difference is, the other one had an agent, which is something that you're going to leverage why you're better than the other agent. But regardless, you're still trying to position yourself better than every other agent they're going to meet. So you're doing the same thing. So that's why it's becomes very similar in person.
Awesome. Now, I know with social media, it can also vary. So probably the pushback, even getting the appointment, Eddie, would be different, right? Since you've never, especially when you're getting the social media lead, you haven't really met them. It's cold. Somebody clicked on an ad and you got it. What pushback do you get?
I mean, the pushback you usually will get through social media lead gen is like I ask them what made you submit your inquiry about wanting to get more information about selling your home. They're like, well, I was just curious how much it was being worth. I'm like, okay, so I'm like, you're telling me that if you get the price you like, you'd consider selling. They're like, yes, okay. So then I'm like, get that information from them, kind of give them an evaluation, because not all of them are going to be willing to meet right away unless they like the price. I'm like, this is just an evaluation. I can't give you an exact number until I see the home. So I'm like, do you mind if I come by the house and give you an exact valuation so I can build a relationship with them? Once you get into that door, you already build a relationship with them, and they trust you more then.
Gotcha.
Because they don't see you because everything's over the phone. They haven't met you. They don't know what type of person you are, your personality even.
They like putting the face, right, to the voice.
Because you always want to ask a reason what made them click on that ad and what made them give their information out.
Gotcha. Now, Virginia, it's considering that most people are already in your sphere, those that you are, showing on your Facebook, I guess, sphere. What would you say is that they have a level already of trust with you? So what would you say is the biggest pushback you get?
Okay, so my social media, my social media concept is different than his because he talks to strangers. He buys ads and then they click on his ads. Like with me, like you said, I already have a step in their door. I'm already in their phone. I've already sold my personality. They're already Facebook friends with me, and maybe I never met them before ever, because what I do is I go to my friend and I go to their friends list, and I figure, well, I trust my friend. My friend's not a wacko weirdo, so I'll go through and like some of their friends, especially if I have 10 people in common with them already, and they'll accept my friend request because they see I'm not a weirdo either, so I grow my friend. So I grow my friends list. So what I do is, because I do an 80-20 rule. I do 80% of food and fun and events and personal stuff that I post on Facebook, and then 20% I kind of slide in between. Oh, by the way, I'm a realtor. Like, oh, I was doing an inspection today. Great news. I'm so happy for my buyers. They got a $15,000 credit concessions today. Hallelujah, or whatever. So I'll kind of 20% just kind of slide in a little bit of my posts that I'm a realtor, or even do it subconsciously. I'll do, a coffee mug. Like, I'm going to show a lot of homes today. I'm glad I'm drinking some coffee or something. So I'll just once in a while, or sometimes I'll just show a picture of my car. Like, I got some new rims, or I actually washed my car today, but I'm talking about my car, but it's got my logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's subliminal message. By the way, I'm a realtor, so I'm just kind of
Mhm.
putting that in their head, just to remind them. And people like my car too, so yeah. So, um, so there's just a lot of ways to capture someone's attention and just to have them remember you as well too. But when people, as far as getting pushed back, I've already sold them.
Mhm.
They already trust me as a realtor. They already know and like me. Like he said, you got to be known, liked, and trustworthy.
Mhm.
I've already done all that on Facebook. You know, I've got my audience, people watch me, and they're like, oh, yeah, I like this person, you know. And then when they do need a realtor, oh, yeah, that's right, Virginia's a realtor. And then what they do is they go to my Facebook message, direct message. They'll direct message me, hey, Virginia, I'm thinking of selling my home. Are you interested in listing it? So I don't have to do listing presentations. I've already sold myself. They already trust me. They come to me like I'm a store. They say, Virginia, I want to sell my home. Will you list my house for me?
Mhm.
So then I say, yeah, give me your phone number. You know, I'll call them up and they say, what time's good? Tuesday or Thursday. Let's get a home evaluation for you. I'll call them on the phone. What time's good for a phone? What's your square footage? Tell me your upgrades. You know, when last time you put in a new air conditioner, redone your roof or whatever. So I kind of do my listing appointments over the phone because I've already been selling myself all these years
Mhm.
on social media. So as
Mhm.
far as pushback goes, I don't get any pushback because I've already done all the work.
Mhm.
And I like Facebook because I'm not talking to one individual person. I'm talking to thousands of people at a time. So
Mhm.
like if I do one video, that goes out to thousands of people. So I
Mhm.
make the effort one time, it goes out to thousands of people and it's free.
Mhm.
And even sometimes I'll put stuff on community pages. You can post on community pages and that's free. I also have my own community page, which has thousands of people too. And when people want to um, join my community page, I look at their about and see if they're realtors.
Mhm.
So if someone wants to join my community page, I don't allow any realtors because then I don't want competition on my own community page.
Mhm.
You know? So yeah, I just kind of sell myself on my community page, sell myself on my personal page, and my personal page is where I get all my business.
Mhm.
My Facebook business page is just there to look professional, but I don't get business off my business page. I get business from selling myself on my personal page. People are interested, like they're interested in Yellowstone and the Kardashians and, you know, like a TV show. They like to
And the
watch.
reality of Virginia.
Yeah, it's the reality show. You know,
Yeah.
it's dumb stuff like, oh, I went to Metallica or whatever, but you just get engagements and comments and stuff. So it's just about telling people what's going on with your life. That's
Mhm.
all it is.
Awesome. So your value proposition basically is that you put yourself out there for them to
Right.
get to know you
Hmm.
also, because
Yeah.
that was my next question, by the way. What is your value proposition? So you answered that as well. So Eric, what is your value proposition to your clients? So when you go and you're meeting with them and they finally let you in and they just want to know something different about you, what is it?
I'm going to take a step back real quick and talk about some pushback.
Okay.
Okay, because even though I am a lot of my stuff, a lot of houses I list are with friends, right? So one thing that the main two things, and let's be honest, your pushback is going to be everybody's going to experience this. It's either going to be your commission or the price. Okay,
Mhm.
those are the top two things you get pushback on. Unless you're just you're stumbling a lot and they just like, hey, they just don't trust you. Other than that, it's going to be price and commission. So one thing, part of the listing presentation, I do bring up, because everything I throughout the entire process, I'm talking to them based off the what the market's doing, right? So I do show them, the plano, like for everything that's pending, active, closed, right? I like to use, especially right now, you want to kind of go by pendings a little bit, just because like, hey, these are where your buyers are at. Your actives, they're just sitting there. This is where your buyers are at. We could push the envelope a little bit, but this is where your activity is going to be, right? And then when we talk about commissions, right? With the commissions, I show them, hey, this is what's closed, this is what's pending, this is how much they're getting paid out. So if it's a majority of, as of right now, there's let's be honest, they're at 3%, because agents are sitting back like, hey, buyers, you're gonna have to pay me to show you, which is unethical to do. But let's be honest, a lot of buyers agents do that. They look at, okay, this one's paying out 3%, so I'm going to show this house right here, and they're going to kind of lean them into that, right? So I show them, hey, look, let's not give ourselves a fair shot, and we don't need to be cheap on this. Let's pay out these buyers agents a little bit, out of my, and also I don't call it commissions, I say service fee. Okay, I took that out of the book of, Open Door, all those guys, they don't call it commissions, they call it service fees. And with Open Door, the service fee is up to 14%. So I show them I'm giving you a discount at 6%, right? So, and out of my service fee, I'm paying out the buyer's agent, but I want to go ahead and give them 3%. So right down the middle, right? So that's what I do for the pushback. Now you were saying
Value proposition.
value prop. That's kind of tough, okay? Because at the end of the day, the value prop is because I'm not a gimmicky person, okay? If you guys know me, I'm 100 authentic EJ all day long, right? So my value prop is going to be me. They're going to trust me to get the job done. They're going to trust everything that I'm saying to get the job done. They know I'm no BS. I'm not going to fluff anything. I'm a hearty guy. I want steak and potatoes, right? And that's what I'm going to give them. And so I can't tell you I'm going to do the value prop as, hey, if I don't sell this house in a week, then I'm going to buy it from you. That's just not my thing. Again, I'm just a straight up guy. My value prop is going to be me. Very similar to Virginia. That's our value prop. If you reached out to me, or if I reached out to you, you got me in your house. Trust me, there's already some type of level of trust there. Okay, and if you don't hire me, it's because one of two things: the price point or the commission, right? And I don't mind walking away from it because, kind of going back to what you're saying with people that want to list their stuff higher. I went on a listing appointment, I think I told you the other day, for somebody's house, hey, I don't want to do shit to it, it's trashed, right? And I was like, how much are you expecting on this house? He was like, $650. Okay, check this out. I get it. The house across the street sold for $850, fully remodeled. But since you're on the south side of the street, everything remodeled is selling for $600. So and you want to do as is, best I'm going to do for you is $450 to $499, because if I have a 5 in that, we're not going to get it sold, right? And just so I do less work, because we're going to sell to investors, I will cut you a deal. Instead of 6% service fee, I'll do that at 5%, because I know 9 times out of 10 I'm selling to an investor anyway, right? So,
and let me just tell you your value prop. So everybody could say, oh, it's just me, but I'm going to read between the lines and tell you what it is for you, Eric.
Okay, please do.
That you're brutally honest and you're not afraid to lose the deal.
Oh yeah.
And that's what what I hear from you now, and that's what I know of him as well.
Yeah, you hear me all day, right?
So what's your value prop, Eddie?
For expires and cancels, my value prop is when I get in the door, I'm like, obviously, I'm not going to give you the highest price just for you to hire me as your agent, because at the end of the day, you sat in the market and you obviously want to sell. I'm like, if I give you the highest prices as possible, you're still going to sit in the market and you still got to make mortgage payments throughout that time. So I'm costing you more money out of your pocket. So I'm like, ideally, this is what we should be listed at, and it's going to sell at this price point.
Okay.
For expires and cancels. And I kind of do the same thing with social media and lead gen. If they're wanting a ridiculous price, I'm like, at the end of the day, it's not going to sell. If you want to sell that price point, we can list it. But in about 2 weeks, if we get no showings, no offers, nothing, we're going to have a conversation on where we have to lower the price. Fair enough? They're like, yes. So we have that conversation and we lower the price. And that's where my value proposition comes in.
So I'm deciphering reading between the lines here. So your value prop is basically you decipher the selling process, what their expectations are, and you lay it out and prepare them for what to expect. Correct?
Exactly. Because I'm like, ideally, it's just not going to sell if you just want to test the market.
Gotcha.
And like, I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time.
Gotcha.
Because at the end of the day, I'm costing you more money.
Gotcha. Good. David?
And for, like as you said, cancel expires and for sale by owners, the value proposition is more so of what I mentioned previously, of everything I will do that everyone has the opportunity to do but just won't do, right? All the types of different marketing, the communication, which everyone touched on, obviously is very key. And in terms of price, if they are fighting with you on price, a lot of times what I like to do is I like to lay in front of them. I ask them, what is the net amount you want in your bank account at the end of the day. Everything's paid for. What do you want in your pocket? And they'll a lot of times give you a number. Hey, I was looking at X amount. And even if they don't have a number, ask them, hey, what do you guys owe on the home? What's your loan amount? And they'll tell you, and then break it down in front of them after the fees, after this purchase price, after the fees are breaking down, closing costs, your mortgage is paid off. This is what you're going to get. And it's kind of hard to say no to, that equity that they're looking at on paper. When you put it in front of them, you always say, are you opposed to this number? And, usually it's $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Where if someone's like, well, I wanted 210. Okay, like you talk to them, well, are you opposed of 200,000? More likely not, they're not going to say no. So put the numbers in front of them, lay it out. And, because at the end of the day, the purchase price, I always say, is just one variable to get what you want, right? It's just one variable. There's a lot of other variables that, the buyer might want a lot of concessions. If they want a lot of concessions, it doesn't matter what purchase price you're at. It's going to drop the net amount that you're going to get in your pocket. So the net amount is more so what I focus on rather than the purchase price sometimes. And that always helps out as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, and really, my value add is based on what they're looking for. What's the most important thing for them? I always ask them. Give me top 2, top 3 things that are most important for you in this transaction, in this relationship. And when they tell me that, that's my value prop. That's what I'm going to do for you. And that's really something that you want to ask. Everything that these fine agents said that's spot on. For me, it's more about like, hey, what's important to you? Let's figure it out. And then, once you start closing more and more transactions, like in my farm, at one point I was doing about 40 to 50% of the transactions. So for me, the value prop was the fact that I have the track record, in selling in your neighborhood, right? But ultimately, I think, just ask them what's important to them and just go with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, everybody has a different listing presentation. Everybody has something different of what they go into the presentation with. So what does your listing presentation look like, Alan?
Well, well, when I started, I didn't have a listing presentation for about a year and a half. It was me, and I used to go on these listing appointments, and I would be like an idiot there, sitting and trying to convince them to list with me. It was just not going anywhere, right? Probably my first year and a half in business, I left hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table because I didn't have a value proposition. I didn't have a listing presentation. I didn't really have a closing statement. None of that stuff, right? And then finally, I hired a coach, and I started with one listing presentation, then I adapted and evolved. But what I do right now is I have a pre-listing packet that goes out before the listing appointment, right? And the pre-listing packet is via email as well as in a nice real portfolio that has all of the things that I'm offering to them as an agent, including the case studies and testimonials and everything like that. I'll make sure they get that a day or two before my listing meeting with them. And I make sure that they actually review it. So I even call them and text them and just ask them, hey, make sure you check this out before our meeting. And it lists everything that I do, the services that I provide, the case studies and all of that. And then when I go in, most of the time, 40, 50, 60, 70% of the time, they're already familiar with me. They're familiar with my process. They may have a couple of questions here and there. But we call that pre-listing packet or pre-selling packet. That's something that I think every single agent, especially if they're focusing on the listings, getting more listings, should have. Yes, ma'am.
Can you elaborate on what you put into your book that is the case study? What is it?
Yeah, so I have something called 200-step selling guide in selling your house. I also have a 200-step buyer's guide. I also have all of my client case studies. I also have there's something else, all of the marketing that we're doing as well, and all of my communication flow that is going. Yeah, actually, yeah, client reviews. I have a booklet. I have it somewhere where that has like page after page after page after page of client reviews, 5-star reviews, and I'll make sure I include that in my packet, right? But our job is to make sure that we pre-sell them as much as possible before the actual meeting, especially if it's someone that we never met with before or doesn't really know us, and we do this via email as well as actually hand delivering that free listing packet.
Hmm. Awesome. Same question to you, David.
Yeah, I'll just talk about necessarily what I bring in person. On the presentation, obviously I do the pre-selling packets and everything. But in terms of in person, right? Have my computer, have the marketing material that I had on other homes to show them of they'll be get similar marketing material free of charge, of course. I bring in, like you said, the 200-step plan that did come from Alan, but I still use it. Of this is what we offer. I offer 200-step marketing plan, A to Z, what's going to get your home sold. I bring paper comps, with highlighted important information, bedroom, bathroom square footage, price per square foot, potentially HOA fees, and I bring active, pending, and closed comps. So, it's very important, right? Active is what the home is going to be competing with. I actually focus a lot more on active, believe it or not, than pending and closed when getting the presentation, when getting the listing. Because, like I said, I tell them this is what you're going to be competing with, right? Whether the home's been on the market for, could be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. It's still what you're going to be competing with. And like I said, if you can fall closer to the bottom range in terms of a dollar sign, you're going to get a lot more showings in this 1 mile, 2 mile radius if you're the cheapest home on the market. And, you obviously go more in depth during the presentation for that. But yeah, in terms of what I bring, like I said, a bunch of marketing material, the guides for the buyers and sellers, my computer for the presentation, and the comps on paper. And I very prepared, come very prepared. So, and you leave everything that with them. So everything, the comps, the marketing material, that's all left with them. So they'll remember your face, even if they don't list with you that day, because they'll remember you in a year. So that will be laying on their kitchen counter, and you'll literally leave them with like 10 flyers with your name on it and your information on it. So,
Eddie, is there something different that you include
I
on
do-
your expireds?
I do pretty much the same thing as David, but biggest thing where I sell a lot of clients on is my PowerPoint that I have. By explaining the PowerPoint, by showing them everything we do, they're they're like, okay, I really like that, and that's where I sell a lot of people. What is my PowerPoint?
And what does your PowerPoint have?
The services we have, the way we want our pictures to look like, because I'm investing in you up front to invite a professional photographer to take professional pictures, obviously free of charge. I'm paying for that fee. So we take those pictures and post it online. We get more traction. I'm like, if I just take my iPhone out right now and take pictures through there, we're gonna lose 50% of our buyers right now. They're like, I can see why.
And that's great that you mentioned pictures, because especially in expired, sometimes the reason they don't sell is because the pictures are awful. So sometimes it is good to sit there and say, hey, this is a picture that you might see, but look at comparison to pictures will be taken, right?
Yeah, I also asked them a question. I'm like, since you're selling your house, you're most likely going to be buying another house, whether that's in Arizona or whether that's in a different state. When you look online, you expect a house to look clean when you look on it. They're like, absolutely. I'm like, if you see a house that has stuff everywhere is cluttered, are you going to go see that house? They're like, no. I'm like, put yourself in the buyer's shoes, because you're also going to be a buyer. And that's how we get the house prepared.
Awesome. Virginia, anything that you do different or unique for your clients?
So I already pre-sell myself, like what we were talking about earlier. I've already pre-sold myself on social media. They come to me, they want me to sell their home. And so what I do is my listing appointments are basically on the phone. I say, okay, tell me about your home. When was the last time you had your roof, or AC done, your pool pump, all this replaced? And then I ask how many bedrooms they have, what their address is. I do the research, I do the comps in the neighborhood, and I get back to them. But I say, okay, well, what time do you want me to come and view your home? Thursday, Friday. I set a hard appointment. So I only give them like 2 options: Thursday, Friday, or is the weekend's good for you, whatever. So I set a hard appointment. I come and tour their home. And then I said, okay, go ahead and let me go ahead and calculate this, and I will call you later or tomorrow, and I can give you an estimate of what we can go ahead and list your home for. So, and then when I'm there, before I even show up, I'm showing them comps, like he does, the Plano. I show them the actives, I show them the pendings, and I show them the sold price. And I told them the appraisers use the sold price. because that's what the buyer's actually going to pay for your home, and the appraisers use that. So those are actually more realistic prices as well too. And then, like he said, the active homes are what our competition is, but a lot of times if they sit on the market for a while, they're going to keep dropping their prices. So I do the same thing. I give them a information in their head to let them know, well, if it sits and it's a numbers game, you're not getting any buyers or showers or activity and offers, we're going to have to drop our price. So I let them know in advance as well. And so when we list it and we start showing it, I do the same thing what he does. I follow up, but I let them know in advance, I'm going to follow up with you every single week. We're going to give you an updated status. Every time I do a feedback request, I'm going to share the feedback, try to do open houses if needed. So I do a lot of follow up, but I let them know. I also let them know that we pay for marketing, we pay for advertising, we get the flyers done, we pay for the design of the flyers. We also cover the cost of advertising your home globally, getting on different websites globally so everyone in the world can see it. And then all the different agents that are on the MLS are going to see it too, which are like 90,000 agents can see it. So I let them know your home is going to be advertised globally, which it is because it's on a website like realtor.com and zillow.com. That's globally, but it sounds huge, So I let them know they're going to get huge advertisement on it as well too. So you just kind of, that's why I always think of like the Rock mentality. He's like, big man or whatever. So I always kind of make myself feel big, bold, confident, like I'm going to scare away a bear, So I let them know that I have the confidence. You can have confidence in me to take care of you. One key word that Alan used that I always use is the word important. Tell me what's important to you so I can best help you. I need to know what's important to you so I can best help you and meet your needs. I'm going to walk with you on your journey, hold your hand. You don't have to worry about anything because they're fearful. They haven't sold a house in 20 years or they're elderly or whatever. Sometimes they don't know what they're doing. So you got to put the fear down, squash it, and let them know, hey, she is going to take care of me. I'm in her hands. And then I can do what I want, and they will listen to me and listen to my advice because I told them I will take care of you. So that's kind of how I handle anything at the beginning.
Sounds good. Eric?
Alrighty, so you'll start seeing a lot of listing appointments kind of go blend together. There's really nothing like that. Boom, something different that everybody does. It's just about how you present it, right? So listing presentation. I'm gonna tell you this. I got two stories for you, okay? Because I learned off of my failures, not for actually what got me the listing. It's for because I'm an ex-athlete, so I believe in game film, right? So what did we do wrong and how do we fix it? So my very first listing appointment was absolutely terrible. If you guys are around me enough, you guys already know I always say, be authentically you, okay? Be you, because trust me, they will smell the bullshit, okay? Trust me, right? And so I met this couple at an open house. They called me, hey, can you see how much my house is worth? I walked over there. I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not a very religious person. They were diehard, deep religious, right? And so I'm like walking through, and by the end of everything, I'm like, what would Jesus do, right? And it was I faked it pretty bad, right? And I literally didn't say that, but I'm just saying that's pretty much how I was coming off, just really, really fake and phony. They sniffed it, and it was the worst listing appointment I ever had in my life. So, yay! I again learn from my mistakes, right? I learned from my mistakes. So from there, guys, I know that not everybody's for me, and I'm not for everybody, right? And learn that up front, guys, because trust me, there's gonna be some people that you end up, you meet on the open house or whatever, and then a few weeks go by and be like, man, this chick is insane, right? Crazy. This guy is fucking nuts, right? And you're like, I'll pay for them to leave me alone, right? And trust me, you'll get there. You'll have one or two or three, right? But just know, be you. Be 100% you from day one, because if they enjoy who you are and you enjoy who they are, the transaction becomes a relationship, right? And they're going to be in your corner for life. Okay, so that's that. Now there was a listing appointment I went on in probably April, and I actually sold them the house, so of course I'm the first person that they call. So I go there, and I did a Virginia. Usually I have something to give them, but I did a Virginia. I was like, oh shit, I already sold them the house. All I brought was the contract. I brought the contract and the comps. That's all I did, And so I thought it was going to be easy peasy. Here you go. Turns out it wasn't. She fought me on the commissions. She fought me on the price. She even fought me on how many rooms were in the house. I was like, that's not a room. Oh yeah, that's a 5th bedroom. No, it's not. It doesn't have a closet. Sorry. I got to work in and, long story short, we were off by about 70 grand. So she got somebody else in there, and she was like, hey, Eric, just so you know, I went with somebody else. I said, oh, why? And she was like, well, you know what? He gave me the price I couldn't pass up. I'm like, what price did he give you? By the way, everything in that area, it was in Maricopa, 4 bedrooms with a den, should have been sold no more than 370. The guy was like, we're listing it at 450. It's still active right now, guys. And he listed it as a 5 bedroom instead of a 4, right? And so I told her, I said, hey, I would have loved to get something done for you, but ethically, I can't lie to the public on what's really here in the house, right? So, and then another thing was, she was like, also, again, I'm old school, right? You got your PowerPoints and everybody else has technology. Again, I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I come through, but I'm changing that. I did create more of a PowerPoint presentation. So what I do is I contact my title company. I have them print out my PowerPoint, and that's going to be pretty much like, here you go, a listing packet. In other words, here's this information so that I can leave behind. But that's probably the only thing different that I do from these guys is I print out my PowerPoint presentation. So when I do leave, I leave that as something that they have tangible that I guarantee the other listing agents aren't doing, because after they have their laptop and after they did all their thing, they packed it up and they left, right? So it's easy for me to do the follow-ups. Also, they have the comps in hand as well. So
And we have a lot of resources there. I think it's great to just go in there, get some seller related things. I love the seller roadmap. It is so much better. You look, even though it takes you a second to go through there and just put that together and then put your comps and whatever else you're going to put in the contract, it just makes you look like you took some time to get this ready for them. So at a minimum, get some info.
Here's the variation of the PLP that I've been using for almost 6 years, 7 years right here. This is what I take when I meet with a client for the first time. This is something that is delivered 2 or 3 days beforehand. You guys can take a look at it. But it can be branded under your name. It looks very professional. Something that you can put a lot of things in it.
She can't even open it. That's how cool it is.
Also, I use pens. I order them from National Pen because I don't hand out business cards because people throw away business cards. So, and when I meet people face to face, like I'm at a concert or a baseball game or whatever, I'm chit-chatting with people. I'm like, hey, are you on Facebook? They're like, yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm like, okay, what's your Facebook name? And I'm literally right next to them. And when I'm putting in their Facebook name or whatever, they're like, yeah, that's me. And I click right there and I add a friend right then and there, so that I meet people wherever event I'm at. I add a friend right there, and I met them real life. They know who I am. Never saw them before in my life, but I'm not getting a fake phone number, but we made friends. We made instant Facebook friends. I have their information because I need them to watch me. I need them to see that I'm a realtor, so that way I'm not in their face I'm a realtor all the time, but hey, we're friends, and occasionally I'm a realtor. And
that's a great great information, because it leads me to my follow-up question, which is actually to these guys, because for them I think it's harder when they're doing the cold calling. So even if they send a friend request maybe to his FISBO and expired, they're not going to accept it. So they're not going. So what do you do to stay top of mind to follow up to stay in their mind if they initially said no?
Well, if they initially said no, like with expires, I always ask them like why were they like trying to sell in the 1st
Mhm.
place. So
Mhm.
they're like, well, I wanted to move out of state, but if I don't get my price, I won't. So I'll follow up with them every month to see how the market is going. I'm like, well, right now I think the market is in a better place right now, and I think we can get you the price you want. Are
Mhm.
you available if I swing by your house today, tomorrow, or sometime this week,
Mhm.
so we can get the process started for you?
So you just put them in your CRM and
Yes,
you're
yeah,
already-
I actually did that earlier this year with one lady. She's like, "I hate Arizona. I want out of here." Basically, so I'm like, "Okay, I understand." She's like, "But I'm not selling if I don't get my price." So
Mhm.
I waited. I waited like a month. Called her back in a month. We listed it. I'm like, "This is the price I think we should be at." We listed it at that price, and she's like, "Actually, I want to raise the price." I'm like, "I don't recommend it, but okay, we'll do what you want." We raised the price. Next day, we get an offer full asking price where she wanted it at.
Oh, that's awesome. And what about you, David?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, like I said earlier, since it is such a numbers game, if they say no, I will ask them follow up questions. Like Eddie said, what was your original reason? Or if I can tell that the conversation is going to go faster and they're going to hang up the phone, I'll just ask them a simple question: do you have a time frame again of when you're trying to list? And because it's such a quick conversation, typically, if they say no and are a hard no, I'm on to the next call.
Mhm.
I don't dwell on that person, right? At the end of the day, I mean, if you put everyone in your CRM, there's dozens of people, sometimes hundreds of people a day who become cancel expired. If you dwell on, everyone who's going to say no to you, you're going to have a CRM of multiple
Mhm.
thousand people that you're never going to get in contact with.
Mhm.
So I really just, you know, dwell or, keep in touch with the people who are either a yes or even if they said no, but I could tell they are still willing to sell in the future and they're going to sell in the future and they have a motivation to sell in the future.
And what
So
does that look like? Your follow up for
yeah,
them
so I mean the follow up, the follow up. I mean, look,
to
so
stay in touch
yeah,
with them.
I'll put them in my CRM. I will actually put them on an MLS search of homes in their neighborhood that are being sold, so they can be in touch in the loop of the market in their neighborhood. So that way, every month I'll give them a call. Hey, you looking at the emails? This home came up on the market, very similar to your house. Just want to give them an update that this is what your home is looking at right now, right? So you always kind of keep them in touch with the market, and that's really it. My follow up isn't anything crazy. Obviously, I'll keep them, as long as I think I'm in their email search, in their feed. That's all it takes to really just stay in contact with them, and obviously follow up, call them, put them in the CRM, do a task,
Hmm.
call them every month, depending how soon they want to sell. If they want to sell in 3 months, probably call them bi-weekly, maybe every 3 weeks. If they want to sell in a year, now, I might contact them every other month, just to give you an idea. So, like
Hmm.
I said, in the initial call, if I could tell there's some, leeway that they do want to sell, just not now, for whatever reasons, I will put them in the CRM and I will be in touch with them monthly, bi-monthly, maybe bi-weekly.
Something I
And by
wanted
the way, in
to add.
case you don't know, Best Homes does offer you two CRMs. So you can implement
was
that
not
if you're one wasn't enough. Two. Well, KV Core is actually really great because it has a website attached to it. So if you're not using the CRM, I highly encourage you to use it. It's really great for keeping in touch with those that you need to nurture, kind of take care of, babysitting until they're ready to buy or sell.
It's
So
something I just wanted to add on to it. If you guys do cancel the expired calls, if you go back to a previous list from a month ago, it's a lot easier with that list than like today's list, because today they're getting like 30, 40 calls. If you call a month ago, you're the only person calling them at that point,
mhm.
and you can actually have a decent conversation with them. They won't like tell you to screw off, basically.
Not bombarded.
Exactly.
Can I add something real quick for expired and cancels?
Yes.
Okay, so this is something that I've implemented too. I just started doing expired and cancels about 2 months ago, right? So again, it's still in the beta phases, but it is working. Okay, with conversations and potential listings, but utilizing your CRM. Okay, one I leverage very heavily on Mr. Tristan in there to organize my stuff. He does a lot of my social media stuff, and he does my weekly emails. So everybody I contacted already have their email address, I already have their phone numbers. I add them into my CRM. They're getting all of my weekly emails with updates. And then also every 2 weeks, I call it a cattle call, because in my CRM it's going to be hashtag expired, hashtag canceled. So I click on my hashtag expired or canceled, and then I literally click all, mass text, and I just do a quick follow up. Like I said, I call it a cattle call, but it is what it is. They're getting all my weekly emails. Now they're getting my biweekly text messages. I got a text back last week. They're waiting for his dad to come back from Mexico, so we go ahead and list the house. So again, it does work, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, Eric is one of those agents that are ruthlessly and consistently here, like every week, and recording videos. And those videos are like repurposed in so many different ways on social media, as well as his CRM and email. So like, if you're going to be spending time talking to people, and let's say they may be saying maybe, or they're not really saying yes, make sure you put them on the database and make sure they're getting something of value from you at least once a week. Then another thing that we do here, we take all of your database and we help you to retarget them on social media platforms. Again, with your content and also with the case studies from your clients. So retargeting costs like about $2 to $3 a day, not that much at all. So for about $50, $60, $70, $80 a month, you got all of your audience in your database that are constantly seeing your posts, right? And then with for sale by owners, when I used to work with for sale by owners, I knew that every single Monday they would have an off day because they did not sell their house. They probably held open houses. They'd done a couple of things here and there, and they were just not really happy with the results. So every Monday, I would send them a video of myself with a tip, and then I would follow up with them on Monday as well. And my conversion rates would actually be a little bit higher because I'm doing this on Monday with the video. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're almost approaching the end of our class here. I want to ask just for tips from you guys in regards to open houses. What is a hack that you guys have to get listings from open houses? Because the rumor is out there that open houses are only to get buyers, and I know that's not true. So, who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay, here.
By the way, I got a class on Monday over here from noon to 2 that I'm going specifically on open houses. We're going deep dive, detailed for 2 hours on how to really maximize your open house. By the way, I fucking love open houses, guys. Open houses are amazing. I built my business on open houses. Open houses is my thing, right? So I get excited about open houses. The key, honestly, if I really go down to one key aspect, I know this is about listings, right? And really getting listings. Here's the key. Really get into an area that is going to be a move up area. Okay. Remember, open houses, you have the freedom to attack a certain demographic that you want, right? A certain income level, a certain type of area that you want. So you might as the trick of it is, for example, Alan said, hey, this is going to be my area over here, Arrowhead Lakes, right? He knows Arrowhead Lakes is going to be, it's a desired area. Everybody wants to live up there. Okay. It's not a first-time home buyers area. Usually they're leveling up or they're going to scale down. So it was an area for him to do open houses, get buyers, sellers, right? So that is probably the key point, because a lot of people do open houses just to do open houses. They don't know why they're even doing open houses. They don't even know why this area. They just see open house. Okay, let me do open house. People say do open houses, and now I'm going to get business. Guys, there's actually a little science behind it, because depending on, hey, I'm not going to walk into the South Side, okay, in my suit and expect to get a $1 million listing out of it. Okay, I know that those buyers over there are going to be $300,000, which there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not my clientele that I'm trying to attract. Because remember, you're doing open house to attract, right? So I'm going to go into a higher priced area to attract a certain price point, a certain client. Okay, so I think if you do open houses for listings, you really have to be strategic on the area that you're going to do the open house at, because that's what you're going to attract.
What's an open house hack that you have to get listings out of the open houses?
To get listings. Well, what I do is if I have an open house, I advertise it on Facebook, all social media, and community pages. And if you guys don't know what community pages are, you go on Facebook, and then in the search bar, you just type in some cities, Glendale or Peoria or Scottsdale or whatever, and then you can look up or you can, I think it says community pages. You just tap the button that says community pages, then you type in your cities. And then you can start joining different community pages. And as a realtor, you won't be able to get in mine though, because you're a realtor. But as a realtor, you can join as many community pages as you can, because then you can advertise Alan's homes for sale, David's homes for sale. You can advertise someone else's homes for sale. You just got to get their permission. So you can make yourself look like you're selling this $800,000 home. You know, it is from Best Homes Real Estate. You know, so you can actually use us as a team, because we're all a team. So it doesn't matter. You just have to get the listing agent's permission. And of course, they want you to advertise for them anyways. So if you're advertising yourself as a listing agent, that's a hack. So when I first started, again, I was having that mentality like I'm huge, but I was a nobody at the beginning. So that was kind of my hack was, what was it called?
Just posting basically the listings that are available.
Well, the hack is, you know, making yourself look bigger when you're really not yet. I forgot there's a saying for that, but
Fake it till you make it.
Fake
yes,
it till you
fake it
make
till
it.
you make it. Yeah, and that's how I kind of started it.
It's called future facing.
Future pacing. Yes. Yeah. You visualize yourself. Yeah. So
And I mean, the
that's my
broker
hack.
in me has
Yeah.
to say, no, you cannot say you're the listing agent. This is all implied, by the way.
Yeah. Who's the listing agent?
Yeah.
So the question is how I get.
What is a hack that you have if you do open houses? What is a hack that you have to get listings out of the open house?
So when the potential person comes into the open house, I'm like, I kind of introduce myself, greet them in. I'm like, just out of curiosity, how did you guys find us? Was it online? Are you guys from the neighborhood? So they're like, if we're from the neighborhood, oh, so they're like a neighbor. I'm like, oh, here's the kind of walk them around the home and just ask them, are you guys by chance looking to buy? They're like, yeah. I'm like, so you guys currently own a home in the neighborhood, or do you guys currently rent? They're like, we currently own. So I'm like, so you guys, if you guys buy, let's say this home or another home, you guys would be looking to sell your current home. They're like, yeah. So then I ask them if they're working with a realtor or not. If they say no, then I'm like, oh, do you mind if we go buy your house right now after we're done here, or after I'm done with the open house, so I can see what we can get for your home.
And it's initiating the conversation. I've been to a lot of open houses, and I can't tell you how many agents I've seen that just say, walk around. And then they leave. Bye. They didn't get anything. They didn't know anything about this person. So it's initiating the conversation, finding out if they're a neighbor like you do, and then finding out if maybe, why are they looking there? Are they interested in possibly? So that's a great, I'm glad you brought that up.
Or if they're not from the neighborhood, they're like, oh, we're just looking to buy. I'm like, oh, are you guys buying your first house, or is this an investment property? Or
yeah,
they're like, we own a house, but we live, let's say, in Goodyear, and we're looking at a house in Phoenix because we want to move down to Phoenix. I'm like, oh, so you guys would sell your house in Goodyear then? They're like, if we get the right price. I'm like, okay. Are you guys free sometime next week if I swing by to see what we can get for your house?
That's awesome. David, anything
Something like
different?
that.
Yeah, I mean, just the tip I have, especially when someone walks in, neighbor, whatever, the homeowner in the neighborhood, just be knowledgeable about the area. Especially if you're actively, like Eric said, if you're trying to get listings from this open house, and this is the area you want to work in, and you're essentially kind of slowly trying to geo farm, be knowledgeable about the area. Know what maybe the HOA dues are, if there's a clubhouse in the area, what's actively on the market, what's closed in the market. Genuinely do some research on the area. That way, when they ask you questions, you'll know them. You'll know the questions when they ask you. Because also as a homeowner, they want to know that you're knowledgeable in the area. Yeah, they could see that you have a listing, or you're approaching it, applying it like you have a listing in the area, but actually be knowledgeable about the area if you're genuinely trying to get listings from the open house. And if you're not, then you're really just looking forward to buyers. But like I said, if you're looking for listings, be knowledgeable about the area. Know if there's hiking trails, what there's to do maybe in the area, maybe the local grocery store. A lot of times the best area is where you live. Because you're the most knowledgeable about the area you live in. You just want to make sure that's the area you want to do business in.
Alan, anything?
Well, I mean, I love open houses. I mean, I share this with our agents. Like, if you drop me right now in the middle of like nowhere, and get me like to do like one deal in the next 30 to 45 days, it will be open houses. It's probably one of the most effective ways of getting in front of potential buyers or sellers. As far as getting listings from open houses, two things. If you don't have a listing and you're holding an open house, door knocking and introducing yourself and leaving information about you. If you do have a listing, and especially if it's, let's say, in the area that you really want to farm or really expand on, I would suggest doing neighborhood exclusive open houses where it's specifically for the neighbors, where you just invite neighbors over. Like, for instance, in Arrowhead Lakes, before the listing would go live, I would just blanket the entire neighborhood, inviting them to a neighborhood exclusive open house. It will be on Thursdays from 4 to 7 p.m. I would do a beautiful red carpet rollout. I would have champagne, wine, beer, cheese platter and everything like that. And I would usually get about 10 to 15 neighbors that would show up, and they would sit there or they would stand there. They would drink alcohol. They would mingle. They'll share their stories, their plans. And I would get about 4 or 5 contacts out of it. And these are the people that are thinking of selling, maybe not now, but 4 or 5 months, 6 months, 7 months down the road. So if you got a listing and you really want to expand on that neighborhood exclusive open houses is the way to go.
And just to add to that, because I used to do the door knocking for the open houses as well, but when I would go and introduce my open house, I would also let them know that remind them that I provide free home valuations to them.
Yeah.
So, and if they showed interest, of course, that would be my next target. So we've come to the end of our class. Just any other quick tips that you guys want to give that would be helpful to the audience? Virginia.
I got a fortune cookie when I was a young teen, and I'll never ever forget this. And I just wanted to share it because it's something that I got as an adult. So, a smile is your passport into the hearts of others. And I think that makes a big deal because, like, if I'm not smiling, people are like, "What's wrong?" You got resting bitch face, So it's nice, when you're smiling, it's like, "Oh wow, you look so much more inviting. You look so much more welcoming and approachable." So your smile is your passport into the hearts of others.
That's a great one.
And I think that's a really big deal because it doesn't matter if you're a 1 or a 10, but if you're smiling, it makes a really big difference.
And when you cold call too, smiles go a long way. They can hear your smiles. So yes. So great.
So when I do my videos and I position myself, I pull my shoulders back, put my smile on, and then I start talking. Because you have to make sure.
Yep.
You have to make that smile is there.
Anybody else have something
so
to add?
I've said this to tons of. If you guys are ever on the Thursday phone calls, guys, get on the Thursday phone calls. We go over a lot of stuff, and it's a 30-minute call. Herb, you're always on it. I mean, we give tips and tricks all the time. But one thing, I'm gonna say it again. I said it earlier. Be authentically you at all times. Be you, because I always say your vibe is your tribe, right? So whatever you're putting out, you're gonna get back, right? So be you. 9 out of 10, you're gonna attract the people that are like you and do like things, and it's gonna be your career is gonna be fantastic, right? Guys, I'll wear this hat, right? Everybody wants the money, nobody wants to work, right? So this is a contact sport, guys. Get your hands dirty, okay? Get fucking kicked in the teeth. It's gonna happen, right? And keep fighting, because that's what this is about. This is how you build your book of business. Is always getting those no's. These guys, trust me, I've seen them from day one. They're sitting right here. I was messing with these guys for a while, and now they're the top listing agents in the company. He's still fucking 12, right?
No. You just turned 20.
Right? No, but and it's because they just took no all day long. They sat there and they just grinded this shit out, man. Grinding it out, making contacts, grinding out. And I think you just finally passed me up on my yearly, my yearly sales, right? So, which is fantastic. So you got to continue to just get kicked in the teeth over and over again. Do the damn work. Don't worry about the lead gen, because at the end of the day, I could give you a list of people, but are you going to make the calls, right? Just do the work. No matter what you do the work. Go at 100%.
If you're going to do lead gen, do the calls. If you're going to do get a list for cold calling, do the calls. Just do what you're setting yourself up to do, and don't do 10 of them and then say, I got 10 no's, I'm not going to continue. continue all the way. And it's just about, real estate is about just being committed, even if it means, inconsistency. Even if it means you're going to consistently get no's at the beginning, at some point you're going to get yes. And that's with everything. And I don't know why in real estate, for some reason, sometimes the mindset is, I've gotten so many no's, I got to look at other opportunities, And no, this is life. You get no's in life every day. Not everything goes rosy and peachy in your life and everything that you do. But when it does, it's great. That's what real estate is like. So,
That's one quick thing. Like she said, if you're going to call, just be consistent and accountable, and that's it. Or it's not going to go anywhere. Consistency and accountability are the only two things. If you're consistent, it'll work itself out.
Yeah, everything what they said here. I think honestly, at the end of the day, I think one of the key shortcuts to results and success is to surround yourself with people that have done what you're trying to do. Like in the last 10 years, I hired coaches, I seek mentors. Man, real estate can be a lonely business, even though there were so many real estate agents. Like we're all 1099 independent contractors. We're kind of on their own, and just seek out rooms, seek out people, that will really support you, guide you, elevate you, hold you accountable. I think accountability is the highest form of love. And then just don't give up, because we all deal with adversity. We all deal with pain, suffering at times, but just push forward, right? I mean, the light is at the end of the tunnel, and just continue, like everybody said here, just continue plugging away and doing the work, and things are going to start happening. Whatever lead source you guys choose, like David said, just stay consistent. Just stay consistent, right? It's not going to happen overnight. Like I remember my first listing ever was after 6 months, and it was a $100,000 listing right off 83rd Avenue in Camelback with a $2,500 commission check. But I felt like it was $1 million listing with a $25,000 commission check. But more importantly, it felt like a win. Finally, I got somewhere, right? And it's all we need. We just need to see those little wins, and the small hinges swing big, big doors, right? And that's all we have to do. But again, just be in a room with people, like-minded people that are growing, and you guys are going to grow as well. All right.
Does
Eddie, you wanna add
anybody have
anything?
any questions for the panel?
Any questions? Yes, sir. I love that one.
Eric, want to hit that?
He's like, I got it.
Mr. Durrell, great question. Great question, because a lot of buyers agents are dealing with that. So real simple. Okay, you bring back, you want to tell a story, right? Everybody loves a good story, right? So especially if you're a buyer, everybody remembers what happened in 2021, the lack of inventory, right? So right now you're saying, hey, what you're doing, you're leveraging the high interest rates to get the house that you want, right, at a lower price, because it's inevitable. It is going to continue. The interest rate is going to drop at one point in time. But here's the scary part is that there's still no inventory. And as soon as people actually figure that out, okay, because the media doesn't talk about the low inventory, they just talk about a high interest rate. Because we're at 13,000 homes. A good, healthy market should be about 22,000. Okay, at 22, 23, we're 10,000 homes short. We are still at a very low inventory. No matter what we say in our marketing or whatever, they're not going to listen to me until it goes mainstream, right? So you use that as leverage, right? Right now they're only talking about high interest rates. They're not talking about inventory, because if the mainstream media has talked about low inventory, guess what? Everybody and their mama will be buying a house right now, right? So let you talk to them about that. Use that as an advantage. You're able to, because as soon as that becomes mainstream information, everybody buys. Guess what? That inventory goes from 13,000 to 6,000. And at 6,000, guess what? Multiple offers on everything. You're coming in, tons of cash deals. You're paying over, and the market goes back up, right? I mean, not the market, but the prices of homes go up. So this is time for them to leverage, and then they sit and wait for the interest rate to drop. They go ahead and refinance, and they're gonna thank you.
You can't revert the home prices, but you can refinance. That's for
Mhm.
sure.
So to tail, go ahead. Sorry. So to tail off on that, I love that question too, and I just get excited. You talk with confidence, and you tell buyers who are fearful because the interest rate. I say the same thing. I said, well, this is a buyer's market right now. You know, I'm getting $15,000 in concessions for my buyers. I'm putting in low offers for my buyers. This is a buyer's market because interest rates are high. Buyers are afraid. Buyers think the interest rates are high when it's actually kind of normalizing. But anyways, um, buyers are afraid to get back in the market only because we got used to being 2 and 3%. We were spoiled for a couple of years. That was an anomaly. So, but when we had a low interest rate, buyers came out of the woodwork. People that already owned homes were buying 2 and 3 homes as rental homes because interest rates were so low.
Free money.
And people were buying homes
Mhm.
from other countries because interest rates were so low. Yeah, it's like free money.
Free money.
So we were competing, the buyers were competing against other buyers. So because we were having buyer competition, sellers were just throwing their homes on the market for any astronomical price. And then they would get $60,000, $80,000 over list price. Even though it would appraise for this high, the buyer had to pay the extra $60,000 or $80,000 in cash. So they were overpaying for the appraisal value of a home. And then now they're upside down because the market went down a little bit. So, like she was saying, I mean, the market prices are cyclical, but so is the interest rate. Interest rates go up and down all the time too. So if you're locked in on a price that you didn't have to overpay for because you weren't competing against another buyer, eventually, we don't know when, but eventually interest rates will go down and then you can refinance. And Arizona is such a hot Phoenix is such a hot market. We have so many people moving here, so it's not like I'm going to see a crash. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do see a lot of people moving to Arizona.